Rick, let's do one that you mentioned, the topic right before we started recording, which was behaviors that cause me the most suffering.
Okay. All right. So I hate to admit this, but I sat down one afternoon and was trying to figure out what things in my life that I constantly come up against, behaviors of myself that I need to change to eliminate suffering. And I was thinking hard about this because I noticed myself as I work through problems that I tend to have this outlook that things are bad or that things are somebody else's fault or whatever. I think that's human nature, so I don't beat myself up about it too much. But I isolated 5 things that cause me continually to feel bad, and here they are. Number one, I complain. And I complain a lot about things that I can't change. I complain about the traffic. I complain about the way people don't say thank you. I complain about not getting enough money on a case that I should have gotten more money for. Whatever it is, I complain about it. The can opener doesn't work to my speed ideal, and I'm upset about that. Well, the result of all that is it's an upset to me, right? Can opener doesn't care. Traffic doesn't care. It doesn't matter except to me. So complaining, I realize, makes me feel good temporarily, but it causes me long-term suffering. Same thing with criticizing or judging. As I've said before on these podcasts, that's a real black hole for me. Partly that comes from legal training, where you're always looking to find fault, who was the one at fault, who was legally responsible for what happened. So that mindset is tough to get rid of when you're in a personal situation, just living your life on a daily basis. So criticizing and judging, again, one of those things that feels mighty good when you do it, long-term problem, makes you feel depressed, makes you feel like nothing's going right, like you're the only thing that counts and everybody else is terrible, whatever, something similar to that. Third thing, catastrophe thinking. And again, because I'm a lawyer, I'm always looking for what's the worst thing that could happen to my client in this case, and how do I prevent it? So when you're a human being, instead of being an analytical lawyer, I think we still do that. And we tend to use our mind as this tool to look at outcomes that could be avoidable or outcomes when they occur that we can cure. And that leads to this catastrophic thinking if you're not careful. I myself have thought many times, that someday I'd get a knock on the door and I would answer the door and there would be a guy in a suit and tie from the State Bar of Arizona saying, "We looked up your bar exam results from 45 years ago and you didn't pass. You didn't pass the bar. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. I don't know what we can do to remedy this, but you're out of the profession." I mean, that's catastrophic thinking that has no basis in anything other than my feeling that I'm an imposter, which is another problem. The fourth is making excuses. Hey, it wasn't my fault. I only got 2 hours sleep. I can't go to the gym today. I got a toenail that hurts. Oh no, I promised Jim that I would give him a ride and I can't do it because I have to give Jim a ride. Making excuses. All of those things are things that you create, things that are problems. But short term, you solve the pain of not going to the gym. You solve the pain of not taking responsibility. But long term, making excuses makes you realize that you're at the effect of other people and not affecting your own life in your own way. And then lastly, gossiping. Boy, did you hear about that? I heard that he screwed her in the kitchen. And that was at work. It was unbelievable. No kidding. I heard the same thing. And the guy does it all the time. That kind of crap is basically cancer. That is cancer. That's cancer through verbal, oral communication. And if you don't get rid of that, if I don't get rid of that, that's going to take me down. So those are my big 5, all Achilles heels, all things I have to work on, all things that I do constantly that I'm at least aware of and hopefully am correcting.
Yeah, thanks, Rick, for sharing those. 2 of those really, was able to say like, yep, that was me. And I'm mindful of it. The one, the catastrophic, thinking, that is one has gotten me. It's less so now. Like I don't experience it now, but before I did, and part of it was because maybe I had a reason to be kind of fearful. Many years ago, I had some back taxes. So every time the mail came, I knew that it was going to say IRS on it, or when there was a knock at the door, shh. Don't make and it was, and so I probably lived that way, man, for God, for maybe 10 years, man. I was waiting for that knock. And then when I finally did get the knock, and I did, I did get the knock. So but I had already wasted, 10 years of being fearful of the knock. You know how many people come to your door? You know how many pieces of mail you get over a 10-year period? A lot. And so I was like really living in like, what's going to happen? Like, dude, my business is going, I'm going to jail. They're going to throw me in there for 30 years. Like that's what, and it's going to be hard labor. Like that's what I thought that was going to happen. And I remember the guy who called me, what's his name? Because we kind of bonded, they called because I had done the practice. So I was not, Rick, it was so interesting. The catastrophic thinking was so great that I already accepted that I was going to be locked up, that I just felt like there was no reason to try to not own it. He's like, well, you have like 5 years where you didn't pay taxes, right? And I was like, yeah, I do. It's like, and so I wasn't even like trying to like give him a reason or like, are you sure? Can you check your records? He's
Yeah.
like, he wouldn't be calling me. He wouldn't be calling me if he didn't have the
That's
smoking gun,
mhm.
right? And so he's like, why didn't you? It's like, well, listen, I transitioned to a small business owner. The responsibility for doing the taxes were on me. I lacked the discipline to do it, and so I didn't make any money during that period. So the tax, so there's not a huge tax liability, but I didn't file. So, but I was really in the grip of catastrophic thinking. But you know what? When you own it, all of that goes away, right? Now my taxes are great. I'm getting refunds. It's like, man, this is what life looks like when you are when you're a good citizen. This is, oh my God, these are some of the fruits of that. I got it. And so it was really great. And the same thing applies to like exercise, right? It's nagging at you the whole time. You can't get off your mind. You know that you didn't keep a commitment that you made to yourself, or you're not being healthy. But the minute that you go, all that goes right away.
Yeah.
And what's left is a sense of achievement and accomplishment, knowing that you've done right for yourself. Same thing with my taxes. When I start, I'm like, oh man, it's April 15th. Wow. Okay, it's payday. Let's go. Let's go. Payday is around the corner. April 15th would pass by in the past. I was like, oh man, it's dark days around here. It's like, is this the end of times? It was awful, Rick. So the other one that you talked about was complaining is one that I did a lot. And I give this example when I give presentations. I living in Arizona for over 30 years. 20 of those years before the practice, I would complain about the Arizona heat every day during the summer. And it was one of those behaviors that was 100% cost and no benefit, which anybody who with any kind of business experience knows is a bad deal. But I did it anyway. I would complain about the temperature, and Rick, in 20 years, it never changed the temperature once. But I kept right on
Amazing.
doing it. But I kept right on doing it, Rick. So all those things that you mentioned, they do nothing but they cause you suffering. And if there are people around you, they experience suffering too. The one about gossip, what I say to myself when it comes to that stuff is like, I got no comment.
Mm.
My mind loves getting in there, getting in the mud, all that other stuff, whatever. I got no comment. Because I mean, Rick, if I don't watch myself, I will start to build a glass house and then I'm throwing stones at everybody else. No, I'm not doing that. I've done that, not doing it. If people want to do it, that's their path, not me. But Rick, thank you for sharing those behaviors that cause you the most suffering. And two of those are at the top of my list. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Keith. I always appreciate your transparency and vulnerability and willingness to confront rejection by admitting that we're less than ideal. At
Well,
least I am.
I am too, big time. Rick,
I
I
love
love
you, buddy.
you. I love you.
Thanks, Keith.
You're welcome. Bye bye.